Hey guys, it's Tara here, wrapping up this week talking about CF and clinical trials and research in the world of CF. So, I have taken part in quite a few research trials, both before transplant and after. Um, Basically, I'm a fan of any trial that's happening as long as it's not too invasive. It'll benefit either myself or someone else in the future. So I'm kind of game to give it a try. Um, when I was pre transplant, I was in a bunch of different studies for kind of different methods of delivering medication and treatments, one of which is now being used more frequently. I can't remember what the name is because they did a rebranding. Um, but I remember showing up for the clinical trial at my doctor's office, and it was this little device where you pinched a capsule that had sugar molecules in it, and you inhaled it, and it made you cough like I had never coughed before in my life. So I did the trial of it in office, and I was coughing, gagging, throwing up, getting sick. It was awful. And I had said to my doctor, I'm never coming back. I'm never doing this again. This was awful. And he said, just go home for the month, think about it, come back again. So, of course, I went home. My dad and I did some research. We looked into things and went back in a month, and I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And I ended up being the healthiest I had been. This was, my grade 10 and 11 years while doing this trial. So I was approved to do the extended trial as well. And then it has gone on to, I've actually seen it become a method used. So that's pretty cool to see that things I've partaken in, the results actually coming through. Another example of a study I was part of, the ex vivo trial for lung transplants at Toronto General Hospital. So Dr. Keshavji invented this machine called the ex vivo machine, and it's very similar to heart in the box, but it's for lungs. So it's this dome, and it basically keeps the lungs alive outside of the body, so they can go in and perform tests. They can run oxygen and blood through the lungs, run even antibiotics through the lungs. They can check everything out. They can bronch the lungs. They can look at everything and make sure that they're ideal for transplant. And they can also fix any issues before transplanting the lungs. So it's actually now has helped improve the number of lungs available for donation. But my first transplant was towards the end of the study with this machine that was being done at Toronto General Hospital, just to see what the success rate was of lungs in the ex vivo versus other lungs that came in. And now that machine is used on pretty much every single set of lungs that comes in to run sort of a standard set of tests. So I've seen studies, and I've been a part of them, where I've actually seen the results and I've seen the impact that it's made on either myself or the difference now having gone through my second transplant and seen how many transplants are happening because of this machine. So it's pretty cool. And I'm always game to sign up for a study. I mean, it's always a bonus when you get some cash reimbursement or maybe even a meal card or something like that. But even just the scientific side of it kind of interests me. And I mean, there's been studies I've been in that have been completely useless, and, it didn't do anything for me, or I was on the placebo, or, it just kind of was a waste of my time in general. But I mean, you do it, and it wasn't a huge inconvenience. I was doing treatments anyways, or some of the studies I've been in, it's for bronchoscopies after transplant. They take an extra biopsy or an extra flush of a lung airway, and run some tests with it and just kind of see. One study I'm currently in is they're using ultrasonic waves to measure your lung function versus the typical lung function test for FEV1 and FVC. And it's just seeing if this better measures how well your airways are working to detect early rejection, which occurs in the small airways, versus regular lung function test, which only measures your larger airways and can detect rejection once it has hit those larger airways. So again, a pretty cool idea and hypothesis, but I won't know if it actually works or makes a difference or not. But it's still pretty cool, and it's an easy test, and yeah. So those are kind of some of the tests I've been in. Oh, one that I did the other day that I actually was hoping to film this video while I was partaking in is a test that you have to have done as part of your 3 months post of a transplant here. It's a pH and mobility test. It's for research. It's watching for aspiration into the lungs, any acid reflux or stomach upset or any imbalances like that in your pH level. So you have a small NG style tube in your nose, throat, you leave it in overnight. I lasted about an hour with it in, and my gag reflex was too good, and I was actually having bronchial spasms because my lungs were freaking out with the tube being down my throat. So that one I actually did not do so well in. But I was hoping to film this week's topic because I thought, oh, it's kind of perfect that aligns with this one trial test that I would be in. But that didn't work out in my favor. So, I mean, sometimes trials there are traumatizing, sometimes they are distressing. And the best part about a trial is at any point in time you can back out of it and there's no personal impact on you. It doesn't impact your care from the team or the doctor that's running the trial. And it's just, I mean, it's kind of neat to be able to say you were part of something when, you know, most of the time for CF, we're just getting poked and prodded and asked the same questions in clinic. This time around, you can kind of say, yeah, like I was part of this trial or I helped bring this medication to fruition. A lot of the trials that are happening now are for the genetic mutation medications, which currently I do not qualify for any of them. One being post-transplant, because a lot of the markers to test how well the med is working is improved lung function, when I already have good lung function because I don't technically have CF lungs. So it's hard to prove how well the medication is working. And also because I have 2 very rare mutations. I'm not going to remember them correctly, but I'm F507 Delta and Q439X. That second one, I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But it was only discovered and labeled, I think, in the last 5 to 10 years even. So I have 2 rare mutations, so I don't qualify for Orkambi or Kalydeco. I'm not sure about the newest one, Symdeko, I think is what it's called. But I definitely do kind of keep up on the research side of that and promotion of that. Recently, the Canadian government and our drug association turned down the approval for coverage of Orkambi. So I've been working as an advocate on that. And we're hoping to get it covered now provincially instead of federally. But that's one of our biggest issues when it comes to research trials, is that Canada's system is so far behind in approving drugs for coverage. So even though we have universal health care, which is awesome, we can get all the care we need, the specialized medications aren't necessarily covered for everyone. And that's where we kind of run into some barriers with the improvement of overall CF care. And, you know, eventually, like if you think long term, the cost of the medication may help take some cost and stress off of the healthcare system because it's less hospitalizations. But we're just kind of behind the rest of first world countries and countries with CF specific clinics in that general area right now. So that has been my focus as of late, and I'm hoping to stay involved with that once I move home from Toronto here, which is happening so soon. But yeah, so I hope you guys have kind of enjoyed seeing everybody's take on what trials they've partaken in, how they feel about research trials and clinical trials, and, you know, why we've done things that we have or why we haven't signed up for certain things. And we definitely want to hear your comments on that. So feel free to leave some questions down below or hit us up on our Instagram or our Facebook page.
I got cystic fibrosis. See, I've got cystic fibrosis.